Welcome to Blue Talks.
Thank you so much, Susan. So I am a survivor. I wake up every morning now next to my soon-to-be husband in less than a couple weeks. And we usually enjoy coffee in bed together. And when the weather permits, we go off in our convertible and just tour around, soak up the sunshine. I make sure that I take time to be with family and friends and do the things that I truly enjoy. I enjoy just everyday moments, so they can bring me to tears. So I am filled with gratitude. My heart is filled with gratitude, and I love my life. But it wasn't always that way. I was a pediatric oncology nurse for 7 years. I was on the front lines with families whose child was battling for their life. I loved my patients, and I was committed to treating them like they were my own. I would spend time with siblings so that they didn't feel so left out. I made up games to help my patients pass their time. And I was the kind of nurse who went in on my days off to bring them freezies. So you can imagine that I might have been a little tired, right? Always looking after everyone else. And as much as I said that my health was my priority, I was always at the bottom of my list. There were many days where I just didn't even want to get out of bed. I didn't want to go on. And then in 2018, I found a lump in my left breast. And the biopsy showed that it was cancer. At first, the plan was for me to have a lumpectomy. And then they would see whether I needed to have any further treatment. Well, I figured I could handle that much. So, I went and had my surgery. And a couple weeks later, I went to see my surgeon, just, to see whether there was anything else needed. Well, as I sat listening to him talk, the room started spinning. I literally thought I was going to pass out as I was sitting there. Turns out that the tumor was very large, and he wasn't able to remove all the cancer. So my background, told me this was a whole different ballgame. So he was sending me off to see a medical oncologist. And a few days later, I sat with this oncologist as he shared that, I needed some pretty aggressive treatment. It was going to mean 6 rounds of chemotherapy, another surgery to completely remove my breast tissue, and then radiation treatments. The entire treatment was going to take close to a year. So I went home, and for several nights, I laid awake alone at night, staring at the ceiling, my mind racing. I was already tired. How was I going to get through this? Was I going to be able to keep working? By this point, I was self-employed. I also knew that I wasn't very good at asking for help. And I never, ever wanted to be a burden to those people I love. My parents were getting older. My kids, they had their own lives. My sweetheart was just about to retire. He was supposed to be off going, having some fun, not be taking care of me. So I wasn't sure what I was going to do. And then I finally got the courage to talk to my kids and my parents. And that was one of the hardest things I've ever had to do. There were many tears. But both my kids sat down with me and said, "Mom, you've got to do everything." And my sweetheart said he'd be there for me. And of course, my parents, anything you need, we're here. So I started to think, okay, maybe I can do this. But I also knew from watching kids go through the treatment that I was going to need some support. So that was when I started to gather my team together. And I knew, mindset, right? As a nurse, I was trained to look for what could go wrong. All of the side effects, all of the, the complications. That wasn't going to help me, right? Being in that state of fear. So I had friends that helped do research for me. What are some of the things that can help support me? For pain, for nausea, some of the alternative things. Together, some of us, we made playlists. So I could listen to music that would either help to calm me or things if I needed a boost, something that would kind of cheer me up. And we also had celebrations. My friends created this beautiful healing circle for me at the very beginning. And then when I was done chemotherapy, we had a dance party to celebrate. So those kind of celebrations, gave me something to look forward to and helped me to keep going. So, and as I was going through this, I documented things. I wrote things down. Because one of the things that I had heard from so many of my patients and their parents was about brain fog or chemo brain or whatever. And boy, do I understand that now. So when I was having tough days, it's usually about day 5 after chemo, I couldn't think. Even as a nurse, knowing here, these are the things that you can do for pain, these are the things you can do for nausea, that just disappeared out of my brain. So I had, ahead of time, I had created a list, sent it to my friend, and she would text me and say, "Okay, have you done this? Have you done this?" And I'm like, oh yeah, okay, I need to use that. So having that plan, made a huge difference. And then when I heard that I was in remission, we had another big party, another big celebration. And, through this, I knew, to me, I think when we are hit with challenges that, there's a reason. And I thought, why was I an oncology nurse? And then here I wind up with cancer. So I wanted to be able to combine my experience as a nurse and then as a survivor to help other people going through that. So if you have been recently diagnosed with cancer, or you're in the throes of treatment, or you've gone through treatment, but asking, now what? Or if you know someone going through it, and to be honest, who doesn't know someone that's going through cancer? And I'd like to share with you the 3 keys that I found most helpful to me to get through, to consciously navigate your cancer treatment. So the first key is to get clear, to get that clarity. And that's, what do you want your treatment to look like? Is it just Western medicine? Is it alternative? Is it a combination? And what information do you need to be able to make that decision. How do you want to handle side effects? Things like nausea and pain and the fatigue, right? You want to find different ways to do that and have those things in place. Who do you need for support, right? Maybe you need some financial support, maybe rides, right? I mean, with radiation, you're going every day, right? And it's great if you've got a driver and you don't have to pay for parking. But knowing that ahead of time. And then, who are the people that you can lean on? And knowing the right person to call for different things. So if you need somebody to just listen, maybe you're having a rough day and you just need to vent. You don't need a cheerleader. You just want someone to acknowledge that this is tough right now. You know, who is that person that you can call? Right? If you need something done real quick, it might be a different person that you're going to call. So having all of those things in place, right? Thinking about it ahead of time. Also, what are those things that nurture you? Because that's one of the things as you're going through treatment, right? You need to have those lifts. You need to be nurturing yourself. And that was a huge learning for me, right? I was so used to putting everybody else first. So to be able to, to stop and go, okay, what do I need today? Was a big learning, huge learning curve. But I had things like crayons and coloring books by the chair in my bedroom, so that on days that I wasn't feeling great, I didn't have to go very far to do something that brought me joy. I kept messages from friends in a little box too beside my bed, so I could look at that and cheer myself up if I needed it. And the second key is to start to create that conscious care plan. So when I say conscious, I mean really thinking about what are those things that you need every day, right? Having some sort of daily ritual, right? Whether it's listening to a little meditation or reading some inspirational quote or something, right? Having that every day is so important. Also knowing, right? Who are the people I can call, right? Putting all of those things in place and having them written down is so important. As I mentioned before, that brain fog kicks in and it's gone. So you can either, write it out in a journal or in pieces of paper or type it into notes on your phone. You can have reminders. I had reminders, right? Even when to take medications or just with positive affirmations, something to help with my mindset. And, as a nurse, I'm used to creating those care plans, right? But this wasn't just focused on physical, right? It's on physical, mental, and emotional, right? You want to nurture your heart and soul as you go through this challenging time. And then the third key is to choose to take this action. Do these things that are going to fill you up. Listen to your intuition. Listen to that gut, right? What is it that you need to do today? Doesn't matter what anybody else is saying, tells you to do. And I don't know if anybody has gone through this, you know that everybody has an opinion and advice for you, right? So it's really learning to trust your intuition, your gut, and what is it that you need to do? What do you need today? And then, make sure too that if there are things that you have been holding back on doing, things that you've always wanted to do, or you're thinking, oh, well, when I retire or when my kids are older, or do it. Just do it if it's possible right now, right? Do it or make a plan to do it when you're finished treatment. And I truly believe that we are given these challenges for a reason. And we can just lay down and take it, or we can look at it as an opportunity to learn, to grow, and to really thrive. And that's what I'm here to do for my clients. I want people to not just survive cancer, but thrive. Thank you.